Are you looking for an indoor security camera that has 2K video, onboard storage, and person detection with no extra fee? Then the Tapo C110 might be what you're looking for. Hello, I'm Wanderer001, and let's get into the review of the Tapo C110. First, brief disclaimer, Tapo did reach out to me and provided me with the Tapo C10 here for the purposes of doing an unbiased review. If you've seen other indoor smart security cameras, you probably have seen this particular form factor before. There's not a lot that's differentiating this from some of the other competitors. It's a similar form factor. However, there are smarts in this that help to differentiate it from others in the same class. But since we're talking about form factor, let's see what we actually get. Right now we're staring at the front. Hidden behind this black screen up here are 3 IR lights. Now these 3 IR lights kind of surprised me because a lot of other indoor cameras that I've tested in the past have had more than 3. However, I will state that even with just having 3 IR lights, the image quality that you get in the dark with this, very, very good. I was actually surprised for the amount of IR lights. Those IR lights actually have a range of 30 feet. So for most indoor situations, you're going to be okay because these will illuminate far enough out for you. My one gripe with those 3 IR lights, if you happen to get an indoor camera and like myself want to place it facing outside, because maybe you don't have an electrical outlet outdoors or you want to keep the camera safe, well, those IR lights, even in the application, there's no way to turn them off, so you will get bounce back and glare if you allow this to turn into night mode automatically. There is a starlight sensor in here, so if you have a little bit of ambient light outside, the sensor will be able to pick that up. However, it's not going to be great in all situations, again, because you need some sort of ambient light outside. If you live in the country in complete darkness, that's not going to be as useful for you. I wish they would let you turn off the IR lights, but still have it switch over to night mode, which means the lens would turn black and white, and you'd be able to see at night a little better. But that's just splitting hairs. Moving down, we have our actual lens right here. This is a 3MP 2304 by 1296 aspect ratio at 15 frames a second for video. That's pretty much what you're going to get standard with something like this, an indoor camera like that. Again, you are going to get really crisp video from this and this particular lens. Now, moving down the front might be a little tricky to see, but there's actually like 3 things down here. And if you look at it really quickly, you're like, well, what are these? Well, first, I'm going to start at the bottom. This is an LED status indicator, meaning you can set it for, is my camera on? Yes or no? And it will let you know. It also flashes during setup. This up here is actually an LED strobe light. So if you happen to set this to be an alarm and somebody walks in, you'll get sound and lighting that look very much like this. That is one of the features that is different with the Tapo brand here. And I'm very happy to say I was pleasantly surprised seeing something like that stuck into this form factor. And last but not least, that actually is your microphone because this is a 2-way talk audio device. So gotta have one way to get sound into the device. Coming around to the side, left side we're going to call, has nothing on it. If we come around to the right side, that is going to be your micro SD card slot and your physical reset button. Grab a push pin or a paper clip, stick it in there, and you could hard reset the device. This micro SD card slot can have up to 256 gig of space added. In my experience, this is one of the largest capacities that you can place into an indoor security device and have it actually supported by the vendor. That micro SD card is also going to be encrypted, so you don't have to worry. But if you happen to actually do stick a 256 gigabyte card in here, you can have up to 512 hours of video. Just think about that. One card, you will never have to replace it. Even if you do go over the 512 hours, if, depending on how you have your app set up, it will just overwrite older video clips. So that in itself is amazing. Coming around to the back, well, there's only one thing on the back of this, and that is the speaker for this. We're going to move down, and here you're going to see the actual stem of how the camera can articulate itself. Now, with other Tapo things, I have noticed in areas like this where they are ball joints, they did choose to go with a plastic instead of a metal. Now, this does help to keep down the price of it, but also means there are less shiny things for light to reflect off of. So that's another pretty cool thing to think about. The one problem with this design, and you can see the camera itself sits kind of far back. I mean, you could spin it around to the other side, but it's very finicky. It can be kind of top heavy depending on how you have this. I'm moving it all around to kind of give you an idea. There you go. So that's where it will tip tip out back there, and moving it forward, you can see if you happen to use it that way. Just know it can be a little top heavy. The bottom, we've got 4 rubber feeties as well as slots for a mounting bracket so that you can actually mount this into place. So you could actually mount this and then move it around however you'd like, or you could mount it to a wall thusly and have it facing like that. So that mounting bracket is useful. However, if you want to just kind of have it as is, like I'm showing you, it might be a little trickier to do because of the lightweightness of this, and the fact that this is all plastic means that even though this is still light, it's going to weigh it down in certain applications. The camera itself is really small. It's just shy of being 4 inches tall. Now, I want you to notice on the back, what did you not see? Power cord. That's because the power cord is actually hidden underneath. Right there. And at first, I was not really happy with this. I did not like the placement of this, but then realized with other cameras that had a similar form factor like this and the power cord was out the back, it made balancing the camera even harder because the power cord was weighting down the back. So having the power cord underneath, while at first annoyed me, it made sense in the end. We talked about the form factor because it is a smart camera. That means that there's actually a setup process to use it. So how simple is it to set up? Let's take a look. This is setup of the TP-Link Tapo indoor Wi-Fi camera. First, you need to download the Tapo app, which is separate and different from the TP-Link Casa app. However, if you have had TP Casa products before, your same username and password will work for any Tapo products as well. So input your information there or create an account. If you have no Tapo products yet, you have a button right here. It says add products, or if you have products and don't see this anymore, upper right hand corner there is a plus sign with a circle. Simply select that and it will bring up a listing of different cameras and switches and all sorts of things. So just make sure that you are selecting the correct device. In our case right here, we are going to do the C11 and it is telling us to power up the device. So what we're going to do is we already have this plugged in off camera. We're just going to take this and insert it into the bottom of the camera so that it starts up. And then it says LED not blinking red. So we're going to wait until that starts blinking red because that's going to be our indication that we are good to go. And it should take about 30 seconds. So don't feel bad if it doesn't start blinking right away. And there we go. Next. All right, so we have to turn on location-based access. So we're going to enable. All right, so we're making sure that it's blinking this color. We're going to select next. It wants me to connect to the Wi-Fi network that this has created. And now they're talking to each other, or at least looking for each other. All right, I have a feeling that my internet kicked me off. All right, so if you were like me and your phone warns you that, hey, connecting to this network isn't a good idea because it doesn't have Wi-Fi access, just make sure you say it's fine, and then the two should talk to each other. So if your phone doesn't do that like mine does, you wouldn't have had to go through a second round. Now here it's showing us our available Wi-Fi networks. We're going to put this on my IoT network. I will save that for the future, hoping that if I have other products from Tapo that I'm trying to install, it'll go faster. I'm covering up the screen like this because I don't particularly care for the fact that it is showing me in plain text the password that I just inserted to make sure that it is the correct username and password. And you probably heard it say connecting to Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi connected.
And Wi-Fi is connected. And one last chime indicating that it's good. And you see the green light there. So we're just going to wait for this to finish doing what it's doing, because sometimes it does take the actual app a little longer to catch up. See, it's trying to prompt me to do this again. I'm going to hit that and say exit, because technically it already installed. So that was a little weird. We can attach this to our third-party devices such as She Who Shall Not Be Named and Google. We're going to link our account, which will bring us over to the Amazon side of things. And we're going to select link. And we're going to try this a different way because it kind of bottomed out on me. And that's sending motion alerts already, so that's good. Enable to use. And then you have to plug in your TP-Link, Tapo, or Casa information. Since they're the same, we're going to do that very quickly. And we're going to authorize that. And now I get the prompt from Amazon letting me know, hey, it is connected. So we're going to close. Don't need to discover devices since it already told me it was linked up. And then we're going to pop back to our Tapo app here. So welcome. So we're going to go. And it's just kind of running you through basics of your new camera. And we're going to select got it. And we're going to tilt it back that way. so that it doesn't show me on camera. But that was our setup of the TP-Link Tapo Wi-Fi camera. Now you saw, and I mentioned, power cable and a mounting bracket. That's because you get other things in the box aside from just the Tapo C110 here. So let's take a quick look at what else you get in the box. For starters, we have a sticker here which will allow you to put in place and drill accordingly before actually trying to put the camera in place. We also have the mounting peripherals. So this is going to be 2 anchors and 2 screws that will help you hook this together. And then last but not least, we have our fairly generous power cord. For most, this will be long enough. I still am not sure I care for this particular design of power plug, but here is the end that I was talking about that goes into the bottom C110. So notice I put it in there, and you can see kind of why I disliked it at first. It kind of feels like it gets in the way, so it does prevent some movement with the camera, which realistically, if they change this to an L design for the part that plugs into the camera, I think my quibble with that would be gone. But just know, those are the extra things that you get in the box with this, and even with the power cable being like that, it's not a deal breaker at all. Setup, you saw, needs an app. But also means that the camera itself has to have Wi-Fi connectivity. Uses 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi connection. What that means is you will have longer range, but slightly slower speeds than if you had 5 gigahertz. Again, not a deal breaker for something like this. You don't need super fast speeds, even with that 2K resolution. You need to be able to place this further away from your base station or your Wi-Fi router in order to actively use this. Now, I had mentioned right down here that this was an LED status indicator, and my recommendation is actually that you leave that on all the time, because there's a specific setting in the application that lets you snooze the device, but without that LED indicator, you won't know for sure if it's actually on or off. But let's use that as a segue to take a look at the application. This is the Tapo app for the TP-Link Tapo C110 home Wi-Fi security camera. As you can see, I have several other Tapo cameras on this page. So this is going to be your dashboard. You're going to see all of your cameras here. One thing that I will mention is that the Tapo names for the cameras doesn't do that during installation of them. You have to name them after the fact, and there's no part during the actual setup process that allows you to name them. You have to go in afterwards. One thing that I wish they would do a little differently with that. Over here you can see I have 3 cameras listed, and then it will show you the last little snippet that it grabbed from each of the cameras. Over here we have an envelope with a dot. We'll let you know if Tapo has found somebody. Selecting the notification will allow you to take a screenshot, turn on and off the volume, but also, more importantly, download, which will add it to your memories. So if Tapo automatically detects somebody and sends you a notification about it, you can download it rather than having to do the other steps that we'll talk about later. And if we need to add a new camera, we simply come up here to the little circle with the plus sign and select that, and we can add a camera. But we are going to go into our indoor camera right here. This is our non-pan tilt camera. Currently it is set up in my kitchen to keep track of my cats, so we might see them pop in there as we start talking. Right here we can see a live feed. Selecting auto right there will allow me to change from day mode to night mode, so I can swap that over and it will change it over to night mode and turn on the IR lights, and we can set it back to auto, so that'll be based on the actual available lighting, and that'll take a moment to change back, but there we go. In the lower left hand corner we see a grid. If we select the grid and you have multiple Tapo cameras, you will be able to pick up and see all of your cameras. This is a live feed. These are all happening right now. I wish a cat or a car would go by, but we can add another camera if we had one to the grid simply by selecting it from our list over here. If we had more, I'm going to go back to my single view, because you can also have all of your Tapo cameras available from within one of the camera views. So that's my living room, and then this will be my outdoor view, all available in one location. I really like that about the Tapo app. Moving on, we have the snapshot icon. Selecting that, we'll take a screenshot of what it sees. We have our record feature, which I will get to another location that talks about that, but that will record what is happening live right there. And you've got your mute, or in my case, I have a camera's microphone completely turned off. And then this right here, your view will automatically change if you tilt your phone, but you can also force it to do so by selecting there. And you will notice right down there, all of those icons we had previously are located within that section when we flip it. Coming down, we have our talk. Selecting this will allow us to connect to our camera, and then we press and hold and start talking. Now, we might see a cat run into frame as they're looking for food. Within this area, we have a toggle which will allow us to adjust the camera's microphone and the camera speaker independently of each other right there. Really nice that it's there. Selecting the drop down pushes that back down. We have voice call. So this is a little different than the quick talk. This is actually like you are setting up a call between you and the camera. We're going to hang that up because we don't want that going on. Privacy mode, as you might expect, it is to initiate privacy mode. Selecting that, there is nothing that rolls up on this camera, no shutter that comes down. It just throws up a message letting you know that privacy mode has been enabled and you will not be able to see a live feed through this, or you will not get any notifications, recordings, or anything while this is on. I have tested this. Even though it doesn't do anything physically to the device, it does not record. My recommendation is once we get up to the settings that you leave the status light on, because the status light will turn itself off when it's in privacy mode. Right here we have our alarm. Selecting that will sound an alarm. And again, trying not to freak my cats out, but that will set an alarm off for the camera itself. Tapo Care, we're going to skip for a moment, but we'll get back to it, and we're going to come over to our playback and memories. So playback and memories is just that. If you have an SD card, which you should, and there we go. That is the last detected motion. You can see right there, that is a cat coming into frame. One of the things I like about the playbacks, right up here, if we select R1, we can actually go all the way up to 16 speed, but we can also drop it down to 1/16 speed. So you've always seen cameras that can speed things up, but this will actually allow you to slow it down. Right down here, we have our activity timeline. If I select one, you'll notice down here on this timeline, they're all orange. Well, orange indicates motion. Green would indicate a person. You can zoom in and see your timeline. Now, because I happen to have this off when I'm actually around, you're not going to see me or any green, but just know this is a really cool timeline. Lets you see visually what's going on. Selecting back will bring you to the previous day, or selecting the middle will allow you to pick a specified day. Notice the numbers in black don't have any information. The numbers in blue do. And there you see a cat walking. I'm going to select back one more time and then back into our playback and memory. So that was our playback feature. These are the recorded clips that it captured. If we come over to our memories, this is going to be any recordings that you manually do. And when I say manually do, these clips right here, notice they're playing here. They're not downloadable. So what you would actually have to do is select the record button, and it will create a recording of what you're visually seeing off of that memory on the SD card. Once you hit stop, then that actually gets saved to the memories location, which would then allow you to click in and then download it to your device. This is the one thing about the Tapo app I wish they would do a little better. It just feels like you have to jump through way too many hoops in order to actually download a clip that you might have gotten. Right here, this is Tapo Care. This is going to give us access to, one, the monthly subscription if you want to. You don't need it. However, if you choose to have the monthly subscription, you can see one device will be about $350, 2 devices. They also have a yearly plan. With Tapo Care, you have access to unlimited cloud storage for 30 days, because it'll do rollover, exclusive AI detection, so not just person, but you get baby detection, rich notifications, which is important because right now, if you don't have Tapo Care, the notification that you get is just a text message. You won't see anything. It's just something happened, something happened, something happened. Moving on, custom privacy zones. Again, that's something that only with the Tapo Care subscription you can do. We'll touch on that in a moment. And then motion tracking. This particular camera cannot do motion tracking, but if you have their pan camera, you will only have motion tracking, meaning it'll follow a target if you have the Tapo Care subscription. Now, speaking of the subscription, down here, we actually have our cloud video storage. So selecting this, just like we had the clips before, well, they also are currently being saved to the cloud. Notice from the cloud though, we can download right away. We can edit this and we can delete it. We can also take a snapshot. Backing off, that is our cloud selection if you pay for the Tapo Care. That's all of our controls that we can do for the indoor camera. But there's a lot more that we can do because, well, if we come up here and select the cog for settings, this is a lot of stuff that we can alter. Right here, this is going to be how you need to change the name so that it doesn't say Tapo camera, especially if you have multiple Tapo cameras. Coming down, we have our icon location. Well, we can select, hey, this is in here, and it will allow us to change the visual icon so we can visually see where it is to make it a little easier for ourselves. Time zone, as you might imagine, time zone. Tapo Care, I'm currently working on the free trial of this, but it would tell you right here if you need to purchase it. You can purchase it right through here, or I can cancel my subscription. Chances are you will also see any fees for that listed there. Invert image, if you have your camera mounted upside down, you want the image to be correct, you select invert image. Status LED, as I talked about, you do want to keep this on, especially if you're going to be utilizing the privacy mode. You want to know when that camera is not paying attention to you. Privacy zones, again, only available if you have Tapo Care. So that's that paid subscription. When enabled, custom privacy zones cannot be viewed or monitored to protect your privacy. So selecting that, hypothetically, I would go privacy zone, add a zone. I would say this over here, this door is a privacy zone. Don't do that. And then I would save. So right there, look at that. It is blacked out from the recording. That's pretty cool that you can do that. But again, only available if you pay for the subscription. It's a nice ad for the subscription, realistically. Coming down, we have our detections and alerts. Right here, I have motion detection and AI detection. Well, if I turn on AI detection, I can do person detection, turn that on. Coming down, crying baby. Well, I don't have a crying baby, so I don't have to worry about that, but this is where you would change that selection. Down here, activity notification. So yes, I want to get activity notifications. Yes, I want that rich notification, which will give you that little thumbnail. And then send notifications. I want it all the time, but if you select custom, you can actually create yourself a schedule, days and specific times, if you need them only during specific times. And then camera alarm, this is where you can toggle it off so it sends alert and will allow you to, if I turn that on, hey, alarm type, do you want sound and light? Do you want light? Do you want sound? So a way to make this kind of like a little mini burglar alarm system. Alarm sound, coming in here, you have siren or tone, and then when do you want this? All day, or just like before, you can schedule specific days and times that you would like that to run. I'm just going to leave that on all, and I'm going to turn that back off. And that was our detection and alerts. Micro SD card, again, this is really good because it has onboard storage. You have, in my case, I have a 64 gigabyte card in there, and it's letting me know, hey, everything's good. You might have to format the card when you first put it in. Right now I have it on loop recording, meaning that the oldest items will get written over as new items come about. But if you don't want that, you can select off, and then you can swap out the SD card so that you keep any data that's on there. It's nice that that's there. It's an interesting feature I don't see on a lot of other cameras. And then we have our micro SD card recording. You can toggle that on and off. And then you have your recording schedule. Well, you can come in here. What would you like to record? Well, right now it's detection recording. But if I select edit up here, I can say, hey, do continuous recording, or I can clear. But that's how you can schedule recordings. Moving down, we have our video quality. Right now I have it on the 1080p, but you can go down to 720p, which is still considered HD, or you can bring it up to the 3MP, which is going to be your more, as they show you here. Hey, you can zoom in, you can see a lot more. Keep in mind that using the 3MP will actually use up a lot more bandwidth if you're doing live feed. Coming down to advanced settings, well, here we go. We have our camera account. You can create an account just specifically for this one camera. You have record audio. Do you want that on or off? I obviously want that on, but depending on where you are, you might need to turn that off. On-screen display settings, well, what does that mean? Here we have our display, time and date, and then our time date stamp. How do we want that? It's going to show like that. Display text. What would you like to display on that? Well, right now it says TCP IP, but you can have your own wording displayed on the camera. And then display logo is the little Tapo watermark if you want that on there. Privacy mode, on or off. This is another place that we can toggle that. And then power line frequency, you can have it at auto or manually adjust to 50 or 60 hertz. Recommended that you leave it on auto if you don't know what you're doing. And then diagnostics, do you want to give TP-Link diagnostic information from your camera? And then down here we have shared devices. You can share this device with somebody else who has their own Tapo app. So this won't work if they have the TP Casa app. They need their own TP Tapo app in order for you to share with them. But that's how you'd be able to share your device, which will allow them to see your feed. And then auto reboot, well, sometimes, you need your camera to automatically reboot. Sometimes you have to do that to your Wi-Fi router. You can set that up automatically, specifying, yes, I would like that, and then a time frame, and then it will automatically restart your camera. We can manually reboot the camera right now, or we can remove the camera from our Tapo app. And that has been all of the settings for the indoor camera as well as the controls. We're going to come back to the main page really quickly to show you some of these icons on the bottom. We are currently on the Home tab for all of this. If we come over to Smart Actions, there's a lot of things that you can set up if you're in their ecosystem. Right now, I'm just testing out their cameras, but if you had lighting and locks, you can do a lot of things here. So like leave home. You can actually set up, hey, turn my cameras on when I'm not home. That's all done through here. Shortcuts, automations, again, there's a lot of extra things built into the app that you can do from this screen, and it's a nice addition. Coming down, we have our accounts area, which moves the email address slightly off screen up here, but you have your camera memory, shows you all the things that are on here, but that's all of your cameras, account-wide. Same thing with your cloud video. Here you can pick your individual camera. Camera memory is going to be everything. Third-party services and then device sharing, kind of self-explanatory there. Firmware, I can come in here, check firmware for my particular camera. There's nothing. I can do notifications. Do I want promotional notifications from TP-Link and Tapo? Do I want firmware notifications? Do I want micro SD card status notifications? And then Tapo device status. This one, you can only do your single, but you can come in here and select all of them. Tapo device status, again, more notifications that you can get. We have our Tapo Care. Again, that's going to bring us to that area that we were before where we can sign up for the monthly subscription if we haven't done that already. We have our camera preferences, which again, this is kind of nice. Do you want live tagging? Right there, shows you live. Or do we want speed? I like how they kind of show you on this image where those would be if you want them on your camera. Vibration, do you want that on and off? Again, based on notifications, do you want vibration letting you know, hey, you got a notification? Help and feedback, well, as it sounds, do you need help and feedback? Select your device and it will bring you, hey, here's some help, or you can send them feedback. I always appreciate when they build those into the application rather than having go online and search down an email address. And then about, gonna have some sensitive information about my particular camera. Not gonna show that, but coming back to our homepage here, that was all the areas within the Tapo app that you can do with the Tapo indoor. As you saw, there's a lot that you can do with the Tapo app and a lot that you can do without actually having to pay for the subscription, which is relatively good when compared to other security cameras in this market. Something else to consider is, well, we talked about the speaker on the back. Obviously, you want to know how good is the sound quality that you can expect to get.
Tapo indoor audio test. Sally sells seashell by the seashore. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Test 1, test 2, test 3, and test.
Besides audio, you're going to also want to know image quality. How does the video actually look? Day, night, all that. Well, up there in the corner, I have linked out a separate video because I did not want to downscale the 2K video to put into this video. So again, over there in the corner, you'll have full 2K video clips that you can see for this to give yourself an idea of just how good the video quality is for something of this form factor. One often overlooked feature that I tend to like is actual power consumption, because if you've got a lot of smart devices in your home, power consumption actually really starts to add up. If you have the camera just idling, meaning you're not actively looking through it and it's on your Wi-Fi and it's daytime, you can expect to be using between 1.8 watts of power. If you are, again, idling at night with the IR lights on, you're looking at 2.5 watts of power. That's not a large amount of power usage, but also not the lowest that I've tested in this particular form factor. It's not a deal breaker, but if you're adding to your pre-existing smart home, every watt counts, so knowing that, in my opinion, very important. And one of the last things to consider with a smart device like this, is it Alexa and Google Home compatible? It's compatible with both of those home voice assistants. Overall, I was very happy with all the extras that you get. The surprising form factor, as I stated, was nothing to write home about. However, all of those little extras and thought that was put into the design and software of it helps separate it from other things that look exactly like it. And that includes that free person detection and those extras that you can get if you choose to pay for the Tapo Care Plan, which is not necessary for the use of this particular camera. With pricing, it actually falls a little less than some other cameras with the exact same form factor. Which is why, if you're looking to start your smart home, expand your smart home, I would highly recommend checking out the Tapo C110 indoor camera if you're looking for your first security camera. With that being said, I have been Wanderer001. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a like, as that will help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here, you can always help fuel the next review by buying me a coffee, link in the description below. Last but not least, if you want to be notified when I upload a new video, you know what to do.